Hello and welcome to Did You Know Gaming Extra. In this episode, we'll be talking about Midway's cancelled video game movie adaptations. Midway took a dive into the world of live-action adaptations for their games in 1995 with Mortal Kombat, and the critically panned sequel Mortal Kombat Annihilation in 1997.
Too bad you will die.
These two films were the company's only foray into Hollywood. After their demise, Warner Bros. Adapted Bally Midway's classic arcade game, Rampage, in 2018. However, Midway actually planned other live-action films that never quite made it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson starred in a couple of video game movies with the likes of Doom back in 2005, and more recently, the previously mentioned Rampage. However, he was set to appear in yet another video game film that never made it to the big screen. SpyHunter was released in arcades and on the NES in 1983, developed by Midway Games, known as Bally Midway at the time. The game saw a reboot in 2001 for the 6th generation of consoles, with the sequel being produced 2 years later, with both games having a reasonable reception from fans and critics. In 2006, a third title in the series appeared starring none other than Dwayne Johnson, SpyHunter: Nowhere to Run. The game was commended for its acting performances and writing, but had underwhelming sections where the player left the shape-shifting car, leading into third-person shooting sections. It was planned for this game to release alongside a Hollywood movie, with the initial idea to mirror and expand on the feature film. However, the game had to quickly take its own path in terms of story, due to the tumultuous development of the movie. The film of the same name began production in 2003 for a release in the summer of 2005. John Woo signed on to direct the project in 2004, though at this point the pair writing the film had already been replaced with another writing duo, Mark Swift and Damian Shannon, just coming off the back of writing Freddy vs. Jason. Within weeks of John Woo joining, the writing team were replaced yet again, with Zach Penn being brought on board, who'd previously worked on classics like Last Action Hero and Men in Black. Penn was tasked with rewriting the script a second time, delaying production and pushing the release date back to summer of 2006. After less than a year on the project, Zach was replaced by yet another screenwriter, Stuart Beattie of Pirates of the Caribbean fame. Unfortunately, with the script being completely overhauled yet again, John Woo had to leave the project due to a scheduling conflict. Though production of the film continued without a director, it wasn't long before it came to a complete halt, and Johnson also left the project. In 2007, Paul W.S. Anderson, director of the Mortal Kombat and Resident Evil adaptations, was hired to rekindle SpyHunter, writing a new script himself, though he left the project after a year to produce Death Race 2. More than half a decade later, in 2013, rumors again surfaced that the project was being reignited, with Zombieland director Ruben Fleischer at the helm, and, you guessed it, new writers. The last that was heard about the project was in 2015, when Warner Bros. Reportedly brought writers of the Sleepy Hollow television series in to produce a screenplay for the film, and it's a mystery as to whether Fleischer is still involved at all. The idea for the SpyHunter movie could have been the catalyst for Midway's plan to effectively integrate the stories of films and games into one another. President and CEO of Midway, David F. Zucker, explained the concept in a press release for The Wheelman. Zucker said, "We believe the Wheelman is a groundbreaking new model for our industry. We intend to create a broad-arcing experience, simultaneously developing entertainment properties across a number of mediums." Starring Vin Diesel, The Wheelman was renamed just Wheelman for its release on the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. It was made as the first part of a series, introducing the character of Milo Burek. The sequel to this game was planned to come as a film called The Wheelman, and as with the game, would star Vin Diesel in the lead role. The game was developed by Tygon Studios, a video game development company founded by Diesel himself. It was announced in 2006 that the game and film would be released simultaneously in late 2007. However, no film surfaced when the game eventually came out in March 2009. More Midway titles such as The Suffering and its sequel, The Suffering Ties That Bind, seem to be part of this plan to tie together games and movies. In association with MTV Films, Midway wanted to release a film adaptation of the two games. They even had Stan Winston confirmed for the project, the mind behind the special effects of the Terminator series and Jurassic Park. Despite this, no actors, writers, or directors were ever in talks for the film, and eventually the project died. Clearly, there were no hard feelings between Wu and Midway after his departure from the SpyHunter project, as he went on to produce the third-person shooter Stranglehold in 2007, which also featured in Midway's plan. The game acted as a sequel to Hard Boiled, the classic 1992 buddy cop movie directed by John Woo, starring Chow Yun-fat as Inspector Tequila Yuan, and saw the actor reprise his role. In 2009, it was announced that a film would be made of the game, though throughout the course of the year, very little information was released about the project. The film was going to be shot in Singapore and the United States on a budget of $20 million, produced by John Woo and Terrence Chang, and directed by Stephen Fung. The timeline on when the film's story would be set was left up in the air, with many contradictory reports as to whether it was to be a sequel to Stranglehold or a prequel, some even suggesting it would predate the events of Hard Boiled. The only mention of the timeline came from Terrence Chang when talking to Kotaku, who said, "It is a total reinvention with a much younger Tequila. In other words, it is not a sequel to Hard Boiled." In 2010, John Woo also told Kotaku that the script was still in motion. However, the film wouldn't be released for years. There was even a second video game being produced, Stranglehold 2 Gunrunner. The co-op shooter was planned to feature both Chow Yun-fat and Vin Diesel, with Diesel potentially returning as Milo Burek from Wheelman. The project was cancelled in 2008. There's plenty more information about this cancelled sequel in Unseen64's video. We'll include a link in the description below. Not soon after Midway went into bankruptcy in 2009, Warner Bros. Bought most of Midway's assets, including Mortal Kombat, SpyHunter, and Wheelman. And now it's time for this episode's random piece of trivia, and today we're talking about the Super Nintendo classic, Kirby Superstar. The title almost had a ninth game within it called Kagero Mansion. According to Kirby creator Masahiro Sakurai, it would have taken place in a haunted mansion where Kirby was prevented from opening his mouth. It was ultimately dropped because of time issues. You should check out our video on misleading game box arts for more facts, which you can do by clicking the link in the top right corner of the screen. We're also making a book based on our other show, Region Locked, all about regional exclusive games. If you'd be interested in having a book for all of these weird little titles you may or may not have seen, be sure to take a look at our Unbound page in the description below. As always, thanks to our Patreons. They really help make this show come alive. If you'd like to help support the show each month, be sure to take a look at our Patreon page in the description below. I'm going to make a film about Vin Diesel, where he goes back in time and becomes a professional wrestler with The Rock. Maybe a sequel to WWF Warzone on the N64. I think it could be pretty solid.